All right, Mr. Ahmed here again. Today, our goal is to go over the properties of trapezoids. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with exactly one pair of parallel sides. That pair of parallel sides is usually pretty obvious when you're looking at the diagram. In this case, these two sides are parallel. They're marked with the arrow. They will never touch. And the other two sides, if we were to extend, they would actually intersect. The bases are the parallel sides. And the base angles, they're consecutive and they both share the same base. So these two angles are base angles and these two angles are also base angles. We're going to keep that definition as short as possible. The midsegment of a trapezoid connects the midpoints of the legs. Notice I introduced a new term there with legs. The two legs, those are the non-parallel sides. So here is my mid-segment. These 2 points, X and Y, those have to be midpoints. Thus, this little leg is cut in half, and this leg is also cut in half. So X and Y are midpoints. And that's kind of the main things we have with our trapezoid. There is one formula that we will use, and it involves the mid-segment. The mid-segment, I am going to abbreviate MS, is equal to the bases, base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. And those two bases, keep in mind, those are the parallel sides. Our next step is a specific trapezoid, and that's the isosceles trapezoid. It has all the characteristics of a regular old trapezoid. Exactly one pair of parallel sides. We can also use the mid-segment formula. And its legs, those non-parallel sides again, are congruent. I have them marked. The base angles are also congruent. So that's our second characteristic. Each pair of base angles are congruent. So I need to mark those too. Tick marks on our two base angle pairs. Okay. The last step, I'm going to draw a new diagram for it. In an isosceles trapezoid, the diagonals are also congruent. Kind of obvious by looking at the picture. So here I will draw in another isosceles trapezoid. Parallel, parallel, legs, congruent. The diagonals are the same length. So X, Y is congruent to R, T. And that's all the properties for our isosceles trapezoids. So your assignment today is going to be based off these. We're going to go over 3 example questions, and then you will head over to your Clever Big Ideas page and complete the assignment. So 3 examples. We are asked to find the measure of angle R. When I take a look at this trapezoid, I see that it has 2 congruent legs. They're both 21, so that would make it an isosceles trapezoid. Thus, the base angles are congruent. Angle J and K both have to be 142. We're asked to find R, so I'm going to let that be X. Angle M would also have to be X because that's another pair of base angles. Since it's a quadrilateral, all 4 angles have to add up to 360 degrees. So 142 plus 142 plus X plus x has to equal 360. Combine like terms. 284 plus 2x equals 360. Subtract our 284. And 2x is equal to 76. When I divide by 2, x is equal to 38. So since x is 38, the measure of angle R is also 38 degrees. And we have completed our first problem. Second one also says we're working with an isosceles trapezoid and we're just supposed to find n. Since the isosceles trapezoid has congruent base angles, these two are congruent and these two base angles down at the bottom would also be congruent. We will set 10n plus 19 equal to 12n minus 4. And then we will solve. Subtract our 10n from both sides. Also add 4. And we get 23 equals 2n. When I divide by 23, n is equal to 11.5. And finally, our last one involves a midsegment. So it says given MN is the midsegment of trapezoid RSTV, find X. So MN has to be a midsegment, therefore M and N are both midpoints. So I could mark these little segments congruent, and we'll use the midsegment formula. As we discussed earlier, the midsegment is equal to base 1 plus base 2 over 2. It does not matter the order in which we pick our two bases. So let's take the top one, let that be base 1. So 6x minus 3 plus base 2. On the bottom, 8x plus 5 over 2 is equal to our midsegment, which is 15. We'll put it over 1 and cross multiply. 30 equals 6x minus 3 plus 8x plus 5. Combine like terms again. 14x plus 2 equals 30. And 28 is equal to 14x. X is equal to 2. And our solution is x equals 2. And that completes our example problems for today.